Hello, gorgeous, wonderful, beautiful souls that you are. How are you? Welcome to Friday. Today I am talking about Jesus. No, I'm not. I'm really not talking about Jesus, but he's going to be mentioned in dispatches. Okay? I'm going to talk about those people who do get messages and those people who don't get messages and the difference. I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So first of all, I want to say thank you to all of the beautiful comments and the beautiful feedback that I got after I talked about that woo-woo situation, talking to Jesus. Okay, so there he has been mentioned. All right. So I want to thank everybody because what came through was that lots of people have experienced that same feeling that I felt in different circumstances, in different ways, but the same feeling. And that's really nice, that's really gratifying. When I was talking to the emissaries about that, they said that they were working with many people. Many people. In fact, I said to them, how many people are you working with? And they said, all of them. Okay. And they kind of chuckled, but they said all of them. In some way, their influence is there with everybody. But they said, yes, we're working specifically with some people, and yes, we are working with people and allowing them to feel that same feeling. Yeah, so that was nice. But then I was asking about the people, and this is in the comments, people were saying, hey, I'm fully on board with everything you say, but I haven't experienced that, or I haven't received downloads or messages or whatever. Yeah? But they weren't complaining, they were just saying, that's just not my thing at the moment. So I was interested. I thought, well, I'll ask the emissaries about why that would be the case. Why is it that some people do and some people don't? And if people don't, but they really want to, what can they do? So obviously the emissary said, as you might imagine, that everybody has their different, distinct path, and not everybody is going to be going down that line. I mean, can you imagine how mad it would be if every single person opened a YouTube channel and started talking about downloads? Like everybody. Can you imagine? So that would be, where would we find the time to watch all those videos? It's getting a bit tough at the moment. Yeah. However, so it's not an everybody's path. But they said that the people who really do want to, the people who want to do that, but perhaps aren't getting that connection, said it can be for various reasons. The first thing that they said was everybody just needs to slow down a bit. So what I discovered, my story was it wasn't until I started meditating that I did, I got contact. And I'd done other stuff in hypnosis, but I needed to meditate. And that was a message that came through to me. So we've got to learn to slow down, but we can do that. Meditation can happen in all kinds of ways. Whatever you do, whether you're doing exercise or working on a hobby or painting or walking through the countryside, walking the dogs, whatever, it really doesn't matter. So slow down, that's what they said. They said also that fear comes into it a lot, that prevents it from happening. And I understand this, I can resonate with this one, which is, it's the fear of, if it happens, if I start receiving messages, what does that say about me and my mental health? Or what will people think of me if I receive messages and then I'm committed to tell people about the messages that I got? What will people think? So it is scary. I was shitting myself when they came through and they told me that they wanted me to give a message. Honestly, I was crapping myself. I was thinking, what are people going to think about me? What are people going to think? Now, couldn't give a shit. Anyway, there's so many of us now. Everybody's really cool, relaxed and groovy with it now. So it's not as bad as what I thought. But I really worried that was going to impact my business. I worried a lot of things. But no, I think if you're doing it and you're doing it for the highest good, and if you're doing that as a divine work, then what can go wrong? What can go wrong? So, probably a lot. But anyway, that's the way I think. So they said that it can be fear, just fear of, what will people think? What will I think of myself? Will I start to doubt my sanity? And then also they said sometimes it can come from a place of lack, which is, that why do other people get these and not me? Why not me? Okay? And that kind of attitude can create a lack. It's like creating a negative affirmation. So rather than drawing it, it pushes it away, I don't think, certainly in the messages I got, not many people, nobody expressed that kind of sentiment. But I would imagine that it happens. And I can recall a long time ago, like watching people who were having these kind of inspirational messages and things and thinking, why not me? Why do I not get those? I'm in touch with things. So that can be, you need to get rid of that. Let that go. So so I said to them, right, so how do we do that? What do people have to do? And they said, all that you need to do is just surrender to it. And it was, they haven't talked about surrender for a while, but I there was a period where they talked about it a lot. And it kind of like was an old friend, getting an old friend out, just surrendering to your purpose. So it isn't surrendering saying, I surrender to downloads. That's not what it's about. Or I surrender to being contacted by higher beings. That's not what they were talking about. What they said was, you need to surrender to the universe without setting any agenda whatsoever. And I recall when this is before all this happened, and I just need to know what, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And I was saying to the universe, look, I surrender myself, show me what you want me to do. I give you permission to guide me and take me to the place I need to be. And that was what I just said over and over again, genuinely. And I was scared shitless again, because I didn't know whether the universe was going to give me something that I couldn't handle. And then I discovered that it never does. It only gives you what you can handle. So that's the surrender they were talking about, which is a non-specific agenda surrender. I like that. That rhymes, doesn't it? Non-specific agenda surrender. Yeah? So that's what you've got to do. Just offer it up and say it out loud, very important. I surrender, you show me. That's it. Do you understand the power of that? The vortex that you open up, this energy vortex of like this vacuum that must be filled by the answer. Yeah? So then you just carry on. Then just get on with your life and expect wonderful things to be brought your way. But I think sometimes we can try too hard. God only knows. That's been me all of my life. I'm a Virgo. I try overly hard sometimes. And that's just the way that we are. Sometimes we try too hard, and it's the trying that creates this negative affirmation. But it made me think of a story about the guy who wanted to go in. I think I may have told the story, but he wanted to go and hear the bells that of a city that had been covered over by the sea. There was an island that had a church on that had hundreds of bells, and when the bells rung, they used to all ring in harmony. It was beautiful. People would come to listen specifically. And then the church went into the sea, the island went into the sea. But the legend was that when the tide was in a certain place, if you were next to the sea, you could hear the bells tolling under the sea. And so this young man who decided, and by the way, they said that if you could hear them, then you were mystical. So this young man who wanted to be a mystic, he went there and he decided he was going to stay there as long as he needed to until he heard the bells, because it wasn't easy. And so he lay on the beach every day for 3 months, and he strained, and all he could hear was the sea. The sound of the sea, the seagulls, the wind blowing. He couldn't hear a bell. He couldn't hear a bell. And it went on. And the more time that it went on, the more disappointed he became. And in the end, after 3 months, his money was running out. And so he said, well, that's obviously, I'm never going to be a mystic. That's it. I'm going to have to go home. I'm a failure. And on the last day when he was due to go, he just went down to the beach because what else was there to do? And he just lay on the beach and he was lost in his thoughts, and he started listening to the sea, listening to the sound of the sea. And then suddenly the sound of the sea disappeared. And it just started. He heard one bell. And then suddenly he heard them all. And he became a mystic. And so what happens to us sometimes is we try too hard. We're trying so hard that it can't happen. It can't happen. And I'll finish with this story. And again, maybe you've heard me tell this story, I don't know. But when my wife and I got together, I had had 2 vasectomies. I'll not get into that story why, but I had 2. All right. And my wife is a lot younger than me, and she wanted to have family. At the beginning, I didn't want to, and then little by little, she convinced me. And I'm pleased she did, because I've got a beautiful new family again. And so finally, we decided to go ahead, and I had a reversal. Went to a specialist doctor, he reversed it, and it was beautiful. And so we started to try to have a baby. And we tried for 4 years. And of course, after 4 years, and this was a reversal, and they only managed to do one side correctly, it was starting to get bad. So what we did was we went down the IVF route, and we did 2 rounds of IVF, and they failed. And I can't begin to tell you how devastated my wife was. I wasn't happy, but she was devastated because it was her, as she'd invested so much in it. So we've been trying for 4 years, and anyone who's been in that situation, you know what it's like. It's like, oh no, will it ever happen? And then the IVF failed twice. And I remember my wife, I remember where she was sitting when she said it. She looked at me and she said, you know what, Gordon? I've given up. I've given up. That's it. I'm not going to try anymore. We'll just get used to living without children. Okay? And 1 month later, she was pregnant. 1 month, naturally. 1 month later. And it sticks with me, just like the man who wanted to hear the bells and he couldn't. And then when he gave up, when he finally said, that's it, I'm going home, he heard the bells. And when my wife said, that's it, I'm giving up, she got pregnant. Like, what's that about? Well, I've been trying too hard, and now I'm going to leave it to the experts. You see, we aren't that good. We're not that good at doing things. The universe is a master at doing things, especially when things have been properly ordered, properly asked for. The universe is the master at giving us it. And so we have to trust it. We do have to trust the universe. The universe knows far better what to do and what we need than we would ever know in this 3D body. Yeah? So, there we are. I hope that's been of value. I love you all, and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.